All right, what's up, YouTube? What's up, Twitch chat? First league of the day. We're trying out basically like 65 or so of Yuta Takahashi's 11th place challenge list. A few notable changes. You can see a link to that list in the description down below, or find it on Goldfish. A couple changes that we made were pretty much nothing in the main outside of 2 spell snare for 2 stern scolding. Just not a big fan of spell snare at the moment. I think being able to answer like seasoned pyromancer and solitude is a lot more important. In the sideboard, we've got an extra copy of Harbinger's Seas, Mystical Dispute, 2 copies of Engineered Explosives, and Illness in the Ranks. So about 7 or so differences from the Yuta list. But anyway, it's essentially a blue-black control base, less frog tide, more frog control. We've got 3 copies of Consult the Star charts to help bridge into the late game or provide that crucial card advantage that Dimir has often lacked. Otherwise, 2 Kaito, 4 Tamio, 4 Frog, 3 Subtlety is our threat base. 6 copies of Hand Disruption at 1 mana with 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Dreams. No Preordain, no Consider, no Thought Scour. Really relying on Consult the Star charts to be our card selection / advantage. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. See if we run into anything interesting. Hopefully we do. Apparently people have been running into a lot of Tron here recently. Running into a lot of Reanimator recently. Does anybody know offhand if, yes, the stream is working over on YouTube? I decided to stream from Streamlabs today instead of from OBS, just so we can get the YouTube stream up. I believe I've got the audio figured out, so it should work fine. Being able to play music in the background and then only have it record the actual talking. On the play, turn 1 Dreams. Roll with it. Need to find a frog or a Tamio or something pretty quickly. Hopefully between Dreams and Counterspell, we can buy ourselves a little time. Broodscale. We've got Cavern of Souls. Maybe they name Construct. But I will say it's really funny to have all this discussion going on about like whether Counterspell is worth it or not. And we try to put together a list with Counterspell and just like game 1, round 1, run into a situation where Counterspell looks awful. The opponent having Cavern of Souls. Maybe we can work around it, but that's a pretty rough one. Given up on Shadow. I wouldn't say given up. It's just Shadow's like Shadow keeps the same good matchups as Dimir as Frogtide, but immediately loses like the bad ones. It's horrible into Boros, really, really sketchy into Blink. So there's just not an advantage to playing Shadow. But at the same time, like, I would like Shadow to be good. Oh, kind of cooked against back-to-back Chrysalis off the top. Illness, consigns, harbingers. So the problem with playing subtlety there is they get extra scions just for casting. They put the harbinger back on top. I'm still not dealing with the harbinger. Eventually it's going to resolve and just stonewall all of my subtleties. I can't counterspell it. So what advantage am I getting from just putting the Chrysalis back on top like twice? Just like not putting me in a positive direction at all. Children's Edict's pretty bad. Kaito's tough to get through chump blockers. Subtlety's pretty mid. Counterspell itself is kind of bad. Probably not tuned very well for Broodscale. I think I'm okay with. I don't think I've seen much Broodscale at all recently. Good. My bottoming here. Bottoming the third land? Is that crazy? Like, I would rather have a black source. Could bottom the consult. If I'm getting rid of a land, there's no way I'm getting rid of Undercity sewers. Because I can just sewers on one, try to find a third land, and then Tamiyo Thoughtseize on two. +1 on Matoya. Thought about Matoya in a hot minute. I really wanted Matoya and Otherworldly Gaze to work. Kozilek's Command, Unholy Heat, Blade of the Blood Chief. Unholy Heat. I miss when Modern was slow enough for Shieldred to be good. You mean when everybody was playing 4 copies of the One Ring? That's about the only time I would go as far as saying good. Found another copy of Eldrazi Temple. I don't think there's any reason for me to wait to hit the 5th land to kick this Star Charts instead of just casting it now. I'd rather just like go to my next turn untapped with all my mana. Very middling cards. Face Shieldred today. Impressive. A little bit more of a clock. I guess I'm just flashing this in to speed things up. Still Thoughtseize. So get Stern Scolding up, 2-turn clock. Should be good enough. What happens to Saga if they play it now? It comes in and it just becomes an island or a non-basic Saga island. It's got 0 chapter, or no, it's got 1 chapter counter on it, but it cannot tap to make colorless mana. So it enters, it gets the first chapter counter as like a replacement for entering. The ability doesn't go on the stack to gain the tap to add a colorless text. So it's just sitting there with 1 chapter counter on it. It's a Saga. It doesn't die. It can tap for a blue mana. All in all, it's weird. It's a pain. It just like keeps any abilities that it's already gained, but it can't gain new abilities. That's why it can't gain the ability to tap for a colorless. But if they had a saga out on one and then you played a harbinger, it would be able to tap for a colorless. These infamous, if I had a second land, this would be great hands. You can sign either failure or Flickerwist return trigger and Overlord gets exiled permanently. Yeah, you can. That's actually a very common line to run into. The Wooded Foothills, Forest, Blade of the Blood Chief. Choose a forest. Think I'm just passing through here. I don't think I want to jam this frog into opponent having known 4th mana and could just Kozilek's command my frog. '90s MTG coming in with the raid. Thank you so much. Welcome everybody. I hope you had an awesome stream. Gotta fetch first. Welcome everybody coming in. If it's your first time here, my name is Michael, Control Freak on Magic Online. Play a lot of Modern, especially a lot of Blue Black X, like Shadow, Frog Tide, this kind of stuff. Michael thought it was Mikey, not Dingo, unfortunately. Cool with a shortened nickname. Yeah, y'all called us right in the middle of game 3 of round 1. First league of the day. Damn, I joined '90s right before we raided. I was going to say, you lucky duck, you can still use Dockside, but now I can't because this is Modern. You can still think it. I'll give you that. I probably wouldn't recommend casting one in a tournament, no, but how sick would Dockside be with Tameo just rolling out clues that you could make treasures for in Sack? I'd be all about that. Ben coming in with a gifted sub. Thank you so much. Dogfish, welcome to the subscribers. Against your efforts to get away from the stream, you've been sucked back in. Opponent reveals a Cavern of Souls. Yikes. Yikes. I don't really know the legacy meta at all, so for all I know, Dockside is unplayable there. I would assume Dockside's probably pretty unplayable in legacy. Like any of the decks that care about artifacts are just doing like bigger, better things. I would assume. Sub and disappear. Classic Ben. Alt. Said not on my watch. One v one format getting a lot of value from it seems way less likely unless the meta decks are artifact enchantment stacked, which in Legacy they're definitely not. You've got so much like Reanimator and Delver style piles. You can Tamiyo, Brainstorm, and flip without even having to worry about the clues. Fire spout, unholy. Okay. Take them off delirium. It does, right? Now I can flip the Tamiyo and they can't unholy heat it until they crack Vexing Bubble. Probably worth. They want to respond to this with like crack Vexing Bubble, unholy heat. Never mind. Like, what do I know? I don't think opponent realized that the dreams had taken them off delirium. Fire spout, forest. And we're just probably protect this Tamiyo than what they do. Chrysalis can resolve. This is the case. I'll let Tamiyo take the hit. You know, fire spout. Got illness. Almost exclusively a drafter and a commander player, but I do find Modern and Pioneer interesting. I just know they can be costly to get into. There's like ebbs and flows to the Modern format. There's times where it can be really affordable to get in. And then, yeah, there's times where it's like absolutely awful and I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. Okay, so let's go crack clue. Fatal push. Chrysalis. Back in with our frog. In play illness in the ranks. Pass. Fire spout, unknown. It's got 5 card types in the yard, 4 mana on board. I do need to do something before they're able to get Emrakul mana. Feels Chrysalis, Beseiju, Walking Ballista, Soul Guide Lantern. Pretty fine with all those. Yeah, I would say like 98% of my Magic that I play is modern. I'll play a little bit of other formats from time to time. Not nearly as much. Walking Ballista. Sign this. Double Fire Spout in hand. Construct that is not going to be keeping up with Tamiyo very well. Now that I've got second Tamiyo, I'm probably just giving up this first one to get back Consign. Say, get back Consign. Play second Frog, say go. Get out of Fire Spout range very easily. Deals 3 damage. Crack a clue, get an extra card in here. Discard. Card. I know their last card's another Fire Spout. Sign Fatal Push. Gonna be killing off their own token here. Now I have a janky yet effective way of delaying an Emrakul with Sink into Super, the Emrakul itself, because it gets around Cavern of Souls, plus Consign the cast trigger. So as long as we can present lethal next turn, should be okay. I finally got around to ordering the remainder of the cards I needed for standard. I know that's not quite as big of an expense as like getting into modern, but when I was looking at those starting towns being $20 a piece or whatever, I was hyperventilating. Harbinger's probably just better than everything else because I can Harbinger and have Consigned memory up. That also puts me at 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 power. Illness in the ranks, gamers rise up. Sometimes you just got to hit them with a little illness. proxying could be interesting, but if I recall correctly, the LGSs I've been to run actual modern events, so I'd have to just wait and casual play the guys that drop out of the events. I hate that, like, I don't hate that proxies aren't allowed at like comp level events. I'm fine with that. But I hate that stores themselves are like so terrified slash disincentivized to be allowed to run proxy events at all. Like, I think it'd be really cool if there were more LGSs that were able to run a proxy modern night or proxies acceptable modern night once a week or whatever, and just let people like try out the format, see if it's something they want to buy into, and then start buying stuff from the shop to compete in RCQs or compete on like the real modern night, whatever it is. Bad for me. So I can subtlety the Pinnacle Emissary, hope they don't go for anything, and then have Shieldred's Edict to deal with the Pinnacle Emissary before the first 0 drop next turn. For that. I think I'm going to go that route. That's why we Undercity Sewers before we do anything, so we got a better idea if it's something I want to set up or not. Put Pinnacle Emissary on top. Hopefully that means they don't have a second Pinnacle Emissary. Saga. Stupid payoff. Thoughtcast. Nope. See what your last card is. We might just Shieldred's Edict, take them off Metalcraft. Why? Why? Why do you do this to me? God, indeed. Gotta fucker, gotta fucker, gotta fucker. That's like worst thing we possibly could have seen off the top or in their hand. Worst thing for us. I wouldn't say it's unwinnable. You just like, there are certain cards that are just miles ahead of everything else you can play against Affinity. Top deck Thoughtcast. And if you're not playing those cards, you're just like putting yourself at a serious disadvantage for no real benefit. Like if you're not running Pest Control or Wrath the Skies, you're just like setting yourself up for failure. Obviously, nobody wants it to be that way, but here we are. You can play Damnation or whatever, but like multiple sagas just wrecks Damnation's entire existence. Or you can play engineered explosives, but if they just tutor up a pithing needle, that plan's dead. Or if respond to this. They have like multiple sagas again, or if they get a pithing needle, the plan just falls apart. So it really is like Wrath the Skies, or Pest Control, and then like Meltdown. Damnation against 4 Metallic Rebuke. I agree. Doesn't look good. Doesn't feel good. I gotta hope they don't have it. I'd rather play the cheaper option, like playing Pest Control and knowing that I can have stuff like Mystical Dispute in the deck to help fight that is a big deal. But there's also not a lot you can do against your opponent, like having the double saga, having the Pinnacle Emissary, drawing into multiple Thought Cast. Triple Thought Cast. GG's. Fortunate that you drew Thought Casts instead of like Mem Knights. Affinity is basically what it was back in the day. Free win game 1, puke and get swept and lose, or puke and they don't have it and win. I'd say it's a little more than that now. Construct tokens. Like, having Metallic Rebuke now is a really big upgrade over old Affinity running like Spell Pierce. Urza's Saga gives a hell of a lot more staying power than old Affinity had. Most often I decide that I'll just lose against it and ignore it. I think in like competitive settings, it's fine to say, oh, I've got a really bad time into Affinity. I'm just gonna ignore that one. I think that's perfectly fine. MIB operative, thank you so much for the follow. Also missed follows. Missed a bunch of follows. Why not 2390 and Ches Chelios? Shay Chelios. Thank you so much for the follows. Hope y'all are having awesome afternoons. Sorry I missed. I don't know about your deck to suggest what to take out, but can I ask why no Orcish Bowmasters anywhere? You absolutely can ask why. The reasoning is basically this build, or this particular list, is taken from Yuta Takahashi, like pro Dimir player. Their top 11 challenge list that just came up the other day. They weren't running any Bowmasters, so I'm not running them in this particular build. My normal builds usually do have a couple copies. So, short answer, just because we're trying a list that didn't have them. The TLDR. Hey, Zach, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon as well. If you face the Dodge matchup in in a tournament, can you just go, sorry, OP, I'm dodging your deck? I mean, you can say that. I can't say that they'll listen to you, but you're welcome to try. I've heard plenty of stories of people just saying stuff like, I don't find your deck fun to play against, and just like scooping the game right there or going and doing something else, which I think is hilarious. All right, we got the turn 1 Kappa. So they get to keep the Thought Monitor. Now, this is the part I love. We get EE on... Oh, they didn't crack the bobble? Oh, no. Oh, no, for you, not for me. Like, they're still at 4 cards in hand. They just... What did they just have? They had... Pinnacle Emissary, Ornithopter, so Drone, Bobble, Drone, Opal, Drone, Thought Monitor, Drone. They had 6 power into play on turn 1, drew 2 cards. We wrath the board, and they still have 4 cards or 5 cards. Off the star charts. I really need to hit the land next turn. But like star charts into the land doesn't help me because I need to hold up counterspell. I don't need to like star charts play Tameo. I want to hit the land to be able to Tameo hold up counterspell. F6, yeah, it just doesn't matter in the mind of an Affinity player. Who cares? I got 38 power. Well, why did we not pitch Tameo so we can consult? I need Tameo to enable the Kaito, which is about my only way of catching back up here. And I'm never casting Consult the Star Charts to go for that land right there, because I know they have Pinnacle Emissary, and I can't beat that, like, continuing the game here. Like, I need to get this Kaito down. Trying to keep account of the untapped artifacts in case they have Kappa Cannoneer. So if they play like a 0 drop right here, I'm responding with Fatal Pushing the Ornithopter. Well then. I do a shout out to the Kaito haters. If we get to resolve the Kaito, maybe. If we resolve the Kaito and it wins us the game, then we'll talk about it. We're going to feel really, really bad if this is... They've got something that they can haste up here. I think I need to stun this, because if I don't and they Lava Spur boots it, they're just like out racing me zeroing the Kaito. I'm just like not getting any real value off of it. If they have a Memnite, Lava Spur boots, haste it up. Sucks. Yeah, if it's just this, I feel way better about that play. Could have a Metallic Rebuke. It still feels to me like they've got a Kappa in hand. Kappa and Rebuke. Talk about gross. Take the Rebuke so I can get the Frog down. Got 4 artifacts to go towards this Kappa. Depending on what we draw for turn. I guess I can attack first. Well, yeah. Can attack first because I might give up the Kaito to stun the Thought Monitor. Depending on what we see off the Frog. Now I think I'm going to zero the Kaito, because if they hit a land, they're kind of incentivized to just tap everything for a Kappa. And if they're doing that, then they're not attacking the Kaito with Thought Monitor. I don't think stunning it really matters because I'm kind of attacking through it anyway. Bend the Cling, top the Subtlety. Go. Now we could just like flash in the Subtlety and trade with the Thought Monitor. This is why we zeroed the Kaito. Because they hit the land and they're just like heavily incentivized to just tap out for the Kappa Cannoneer. It heavily rewarded. The way you put this back on top, right? On the bottom. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not dead. Oh wait, no, we could have Kaito emblemed. Yeah. Get a Kaito emblemed. Think we're okay, but yeah, I just forgot about the Kaito emblem pre-combat. All good. I think consign is like significantly worse on the draw. But I don't know if there's anything I'd rather have. Like Stern Scolding's a little better into Thought Monitor. Is okay-ish. But big shout out to the Kaito haters. All right, all right. Shout out to the Kaito haters. Can't believe y'all disrespecting him in the year of our Lord 2025. One machine is a 3/3 creature is so infuriating. It is. It's awful. Why can't you Stern Scolding that stupid thing? Saga on 1. Nothing else. That's the turn. Go. Leaf Drum. Okay. Let's think about this progression. They would have Mox Opal online here. They would need another free artifact to cast like a thought cast. I'm pretty sure I'm just forcing this. Probably off the counter spell. If I have something to do early with my mana to help out. They could have a metallic rebuke. They wanted to have rebuke up on 1. So if that's a concern, I think Thoughtseize is the better play here than Dreams. Ah, yes. Blood Moon Pinnacle Emissary. What I expected. I think taking the Pinnacle Emissary there is better than taking the Blood Moon. I'm going to be able to get the Frog down. And so even if they've got like land, float mana, get Mox Opal, Blood Moon next turn, I can start going all in on Frog. Did not top deck a Dismember. Bruh. Can't like have all of the stuff and top deck. It's not allowed. You can either have the stuff or you can top deck. Can't do both. Not cool. All right, so they got Blood Moon here. We have a Tameo. Who's gonna win? One Blood Moon. One card drawing boy. Draw. It is like bad mana leak. Save this clue. I think I'm gonna try to flip the Tamiyo. It's like a pretty good clock if I can get it going. Blood Moon also shuts off a very good plan of theirs against stars. It does. I'm not saying I agree with them bringing in Blood Moon. Like, you do, because the turn like one cheese Blood Moon is really, really good. Or like they were going for turn 2 with Saga making capabilities. So I don't hate it. This plan gets significantly worse if they've got like Pithing Needle or draw into Pithing Needle. They have Galvanic Blast. But I think if we make it through this turn cycle. Okay. Okay at the moment. If it's just warp these two, that's fine. Tamiyo does a pretty good job of shutting down drone tokens. Right, only costs 1. That's totally a dual colored card. Heard that. I don't hate just doing that now. I could find a land. I could find like a subtlety or a force of negation. I don't get to hold up consign, but I don't know if that's the biggest deal in the world. Find subtlety. That's good enough for me. Because that means I can either subtlety a Pinnacle Emissary or subtlety a Kappa Cannoneer. Both of which seem reasonable. like to save this frog in hand in case I find the basic swamp off of Tameo. I didn't have blue mana up to consign the Convoke trigger. Had a single blue. Okay. We found our swamp. We did not find the other island. One is better than none. We've got an engineered explosive, so we could play that out just to try to take out their Mox Opal. Or they welding jar something. But either way, like they're losing a mana source to this. So I think it's fine. But I'm gonna. Alright, opponent scoops. So I'm gonna EE on 0, but I'm gonna pop it on their upkeep. So they either have to tap down the construct or the drone token if they choose to save it so it can't kill my Tameo, or they don't really get to like get any value out of it. And then I'm just gonna play a frog and pass. So like EE on 0, play frog, pass. And I've got lethal frog in the air. I've got force of negation plus subtlety to try to stop anything they have to stop me. Blow up, box opal, drone token. They can only save one. Welding jar is gone. They have to tap down their drone if they save it. So I think we were pretty well covered on most angles there. Cameo ult good. Yeah, who would have guessed? Santa Twitter. They're on. That's for Blink is so annoying. So just energy with solitude. Esper Blink is so annoying against our list. Which blue, black, or Esper Control list do you recommend against them? So the list that I've been playing with 4 copies of Quantum Riddler. Somewhere in between one of these two. I've just been like crushing Blink with. Slot Pride. Sanatoid are not even on Jund anymore. Modern is not healing. Go in the opposite direction. Not like you to have a Goblin Bombardment. Taking a lot of damage here off of our mana. On Lava Plains. What do we reveal? Draw. Revealed Sacred Foundry, Solitude, Galvanic Discharge, Plains. So we didn't know about this Windswept Heath. Gotta read Shieldred's Edict twice, dude. You gotta read it like 7 times. It's so weird that they formatted it to have like back-to-back lines that's only separated by non-token. So you just see like target opponent sacrifices a creature and like, all right, cool. Easy. I can do that. You find out you can't. Or you choose the wrong one. Which I don't think I have chosen the wrong one ever, but I know I have cast it forgetting that Manifest is not a token multiple times. Not proud of that. I'm going to hold lands in hand in case I'm able to find a frog. I will hold up a turn. For me, it's hard to keep track with all the blue-black Esper versions you've played. What do you think is the best? If you had to play a 10-round Swiss tournament tomorrow, which list would you play? I would play one of these Riddler lists. I think they've been kind of like the most consistent. I don't know if I would play Counterspell. I haven't gotten enough games in with Riddler with Counterspell to feel like super confident about that decision one way or the other. But I definitely think I would play a Riddler list. It's just been like so good into the Blink decks. Oh, come on. Entomb the Flage. I guess on the bright side is if they want to stop me from blocking, they have to discharge the Subtlety. Put Flage on top. So there is no way for me to get this frog down safely. Kind of bites. Assuming Flage is going to take out my Subtlety. All right, so out a single frog on discard 3. To find something else to get into the yard. Not look like they did. So if we can find another copy of Subtlety, a counter spell, definitely not Out of the Woods, but I have to. The problem is if I play out land, oh my god. If I play out land and they go for the discharge and I have to discard 2 and then they have sack the cat token, make me discard the last, if I choose to save this frog, then I'm just like dead in the water to the flage. So I kind of want to try to force. I need something really good to go in my favor to beat this flage. So I kind of want to make the play that's got lower percentage at the moment. Like they could top deck the nuts, but give me a lot more game after that. But I definitely don't think that was a scoop spot. I think they had a lot of game from there. What do I know? Anyone feel like Modern is pretty plateau-like again, similar to Luris or Omnath Pal style era? It was really hard to be playing anything that's not tier 2 and up. Yeah, it does seem like a very premature concession, I agree. I think you can play more than like the tier 1, tier 2 stuff. I just think more often than not, people are kind of like, I think people are wanting to play the tier 3 decks, but not understanding or not making any concessions for making their tier 3 deck like able to have good game into current Modern. Like you could play, say, Merfolk, but you've got to understand that Merfolk is going to have a shitty time into some decks, and you need to make concessions around that. So, like, if you got to play Merfolk splashing white for Wrathless guys to have good game against Affinity, that's what you have to do. You can't keep jamming like mono blue Merfolk, losing to Affinity, and being like, format sucks. I can't play Merfolk. Like, you can, there's just got to be Merfolk with a caveat. I think I'm going to go for the Dreams here. Blood Moon a little bit. Ocelot and the Starfield Shepherd. Bad for not subtletying now. I think I just take Ocelot. They want a Starfield Shepherd for another Ocelot. I kind of get like turn 2 off. That was not in your hand. Do with the Johnny. They put a Johnny on top. Had to go for here. Fatal Push Theogony. Like, I don't think Modern is bad at the moment. I do think it's a little bit not. I think it's like a little bit stale, but I don't think it's bad. I can definitely see where people would say it feels like there's not a lot going on. I do think you can win with more than just like the tier 1 decks. But again, if you want to win with more than the tier 1 decks, you can't like say I want to play this exact 75 and then get mad when that exact 75 doesn't win. Still have to play good cards. DKG, what's up? It's feeling okay here. Okay-ish. I die to this Guide of Souls. You're running like pretty close to the 75 Yuta Takahashi ran, and he was on no Riddler, no Riddler, no Murktide. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, no Bowman either. It's definitely felt like there have been some spots where I would have really appreciated another way to win the game. Or these are kind of like, these are the spots that in the Riddler builds I've been really happy to get to, because usually at this point in the game I've got like I've got a Riddler to hard cast, or I've been like aggressively using these subtleties and able to refill my hand a little bit better. But in this build, it's kind of felt like I can't use subtlety as aggressively because I'm just not going to recoup those cards. That kind of sucks. Modern is balanced, it's always super solid, but usually when the meta sort of gets pily with something like Boros setting the tone, it's hard to be anything in between. Again, I think you can play stuff that's in between. It's just you can't run like your 2017 stock Golgari deck and do well. I don't think not being able to play 2017 stock Golgari is a bad thing. Like, name me a tier 3 deck that you think is pretty unplayable at the moment. Just pick some deck that you're like, oh, I can't play X in the current format. During Ideal, you couldn't play it during Ideal long before the Modern Horizon sets came out. I'm talking something that's like been pushed out by, say, Boros, or pushed out currently. Blue Black Frog Tide. Can we say Frog Tide when like we've had challenge wins with other, or Frog Tide players have had challenge wins and top eights recently? Rage baiting, fair. Fair. But like, I would be willing to bet you could put together a Jund mid-range list that's pretty good in current modern, but it's not gonna be like 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Tarmogoyf, 4 Liliana of the Veil, Huntmaster of the Fells Jund. Like, you're gonna have to make concessions for what's currently going on. When he resolved his first spell on turn 4, and I'm still hating him for it. Infect's unplayable now. I think that's another one that like hasn't been or playable in a while, but I would be willing to bet. Ah. 12th place in a challenge. I guess it was like almost a month ago, but like all in the last 2 months. Again, I'm kind of under the impression that it wasn't playable before, so I'm not really shocked that it's not playable now. Rakdos hasn't been playable since MH3. Rakdos also went from playable to unplayable when Fury and Grief got banned. So I wouldn't say Rakdos is unplayable as much as I would say like the deck just dropped from tier 0 to like the rest of the world. Okay. Something we can do. It's going to be like Cat Warrior plus Lage into Kaito. That's something to do. Or you could choose like trying to make jank affinity decks just to make it playable. Oh, trying to make jank merfolk decks. Dishonorable, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon. Appreciate you coming around and hanging out. Charge, yep. But I think, to me at least, it feels like when people complain about modern being plateaued, it's more that they just feel like modern is repetitive, which I understand. Like, there's a lot of matches against, say, Boros that feel like they go the exact same over and over and over again. So I can definitely get behind that idea. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of variance in what happens. But yeah, like that's kind of how modern is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a non-rotating format. So you're wanting the format to be like the same decks over and over. You want the format to be non-rotating, and you want it to be, I can play my deck forever. But then if you get upset about playing against the same decks forever, like, that's kind of questionable. Sanitator, what's up? No, nothing to be sorry about. We were talking about if modern had felt like kind of plateaued recently, and just having that discussion going back and forth of like, how similar does stuff feel over and over again. Pouring one out for old Jund. Yeah. That's probably the bulk of it, actually. Just, man, y'all remember when Jund mid-range was good? we could just jam Jund mid-range over and over. Like you playing Boros, Reed Duke playing Boros. No, like, I get it completely. I'm not casting Death Shadows anymore. I understand the pain and the frustration of not getting to play like your deck. The discharge. I should have assumed that they had the discharge instead of another copy, or instead of them going for Thraben Charm. I have to just go for Cling here. If I go for the Frog without anything, I run the risk of them just attacking in kind of same way again. I have to take the Ocelot Pride, or they deal the first strike damage and then Thraben Charm, and my Frog just dies to that, even if I discard my entire hand. So I'm just not getting anywhere doing that. People also have to get over their pet cards in formats like Legacy and Modern. These are meant to be powerful formats, and sometimes cards get power crept. To an extent, yeah, I agree. I think holding on to pet cards is dangerous territory for sure. I do think that you can have I do think you can have like some amount of expectations that you should be able to keep your pet cards around in some shell. I just found another discharge. Top decking the double discharge hurt really, really bad there. For example, like I don't think it's unreasonable to feel like I should be able to cast Death Shadow in 2025 if I set my deck up correctly to capitalize on casting it. I can't be like attached at the hip to the idea that I need to be able to cast it. But I don't think it's just unreasonable to say like I should be able to and have middling success if I want to. Zeriak coming in with the 7-month resub. Keep my pet cards around in a deck called Mill. That's fair. But I think where people get really frustrated is like the Death Shadow community wants to cast Shadow, but also wants Magic to print something to keep Shadow relevant. And it's really, really difficult for some decks to print something to keep like a really specific card like that relevant. Like, what are you going to make, or what are you going to print to make Shadow playable in Modern? And how are you going to incorporate that in a set where you're also being pressured to like print new, exciting archetypes and stuff? We're back to Counterspell. We're trying out this Yuta Takahashi League. Maybe it's less about certain cards, but the way of playing. That's fair. Like, I definitely agree that, say, mid-range is... Mid-range in the old sense is kind of... I say kind of dead. It's completely dead. We all know it's dead. I'm gonna let this resolve. We'll push here. I can't slowly outground my opponents by throwing constructs at them turn after turn. Have you seen my Affinity opponents? Because that's exactly what they do. I pest control the board and they're just like, here's second saga, third saga, fourth saga. Take that, idiot. They usually don't one-shot me, but it is absolutely go into abyss mode like turn 1 or turn 2, whenever. Might have a chump blocker. I really want the third Surveil land in these more like control-y Dimir variants. Well, tell you what, I don't think we're beating in a million years. Double Fable. Sink this in case I happen to run into like multiple counter spells off the top. Pack this one in. You know what I really wish I had here was some quantum riddlers I could be casting, or some ways to see more cards. Just like something I could do to improve the quality of my hand in the mid to late game. That would be super cool. So it would have been good. It would have been okay. Like, we would still have to consult into finding an answer specifically for the fables, though. But we have not been seeing consult very much. If we cast star charts for 4, we did like round 1 or something. Kind of feels like that it's taking the slot of Riddlers. It absolutely is. And I would rather play Riddler. I would rather my card advantage engine actually kill my opponent if I have the choice. Like, if I'm paying 4 mana for a Consult the Star Charts when I'm at like 5 lands in play, I would almost always rather that just be hard casting a Riddler. Almost always. And I feel like there's a lot of turns that come up early. What is this? Keep. Urza's Mine, Gemstone Caverns, 4 payoffs. So they chose to keep something on top. What would I keep on top in this situation? Would I keep a map, or would I keep an actual land like an Ugin's Labyrinth? Ugin's Labyrinth, more than likely. I need to start fighting through these cast triggers. So I think I'm going to take Devourer, cast trigger that attacks me, and I can't force a negation it. Second Tron land or Ugin's Labyrinth. Or Eldrazi Temple. Okay, well, glad that I took the Devourer again. Devourer. Main word. Frog? Frog? No. Pretty good. They could have an Ugin's Labyrinth next turn, but if they do, I've got Force Negation for a Karn. It's that like slight southern accent where it's just like devour. Vexing Bauble. Let you have that. Got Counterspell up next turn, or just like hard cast Force. I think we're going to bolt in the Springs, because if they go for a Karn this next turn, I would rather hard cast Force than Counterspell. So I can have Counterspell for Sire. You love Tron just like keeping a 2-lander and ripping multiple lands that make 2 mana off the top. Kozilek's Command. Brutal series of draws. Tron players confirm. Is this how you do well with Tron? Just like get the missing pieces, call it a day. I'm gonna flip Tameo here. Am I flipping Tameo here? So, yeah. I can just like find more counter spells or forces or whatever. Flip Tameo. I can get back Thoughtseize to take Ugin. Devil. We're also like a ways off of casting Ugin, so I might be able to ult before they get there. Tron is pretty famous for top decking what they need. True. What are we doing here? I just wanted to be known they kept Gemstone Caverns, Urza's Mine. And their draws since have been Eldrazi Temple, second Eldrazi Temple, Kozilek's Command, Ugin's Labyrinth. Just so there's no uncertainty that these cards have been phenomenal off the top. Where they put Karn on the bottom, which means I have to minus Tameo and get back the Thoughtseize. I don't think I have another option. Unless, of course, I top deck a Thoughtseize. But Ugin just exiling Tameo on cast is a little bit more than I can deal with. Ugin gone. New Tameo in play. Oh. Opponent is going to add Sire of Seven Deaths back to their hand on their own upkeep. Bad Lantern is fine. Don't care about that. $20 and $7, by the way. What's $20 and $7? You are? Oh, life totals. I don't pay attention to life totals against Tron. Does that? The life total. Sire back in hand. I love the little, like, I'm going to protect this Sire from Thoughtseize. First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, Ward, pay 7 life. They need to scribble on can in fact be countered down here at the bottom. Throw it on there for our sake. Not uncounterable. He did 20 life. He has no resolve. Opponent very easily could have just played like a vanilla 3/3 and beaten us. They have everything, opponent right now. Me staring at Fatal Push and Stern Scolding in hand. Like, man, if these were real cards. Just did something. Fatal Push out. I'll leave the Dreams. Spell Snare. I don't know if they're on Chalice. Could leave in Spell Snare if I find out they're on like Chalice or Talisman. Needs Flying, Death Touch, Delve, and Horsemanship. Throw on Flanking and Bushido 2, and you might have a playable Magic card. Like Poisonous 5. Okay. So before I cast one of these Thoughtseizes, I'm just going to say that if I Thoughtseize them and I'm just looking at like the most god-awful 7-card keep imaginable, like Wastes, double Ugin, Eye of the Storms, a Ulamog, something like that, I'm going to flip my shit. Like, I'm going to be so livid. I saw the waist and I got excited for a second. Like, I was joking. I say we need to play Soul Flare with Sire one time. Not Soul Flare. What's the one that gets all abilities? Is that not Soul Flare? Why is engineered explosives both in your deck and currently on the battlefield? Words of Ricky Ricardo. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. Top deck third Tron land. Time for the boys. Blues. I think we got to consult and look for a land. They're going to do it. I'm dead. I'm dead. It happened. Conan said, I know how I lose this game. Brought a tear to my eye. I wasn't ready. I think I'm just going to go ahead and fire off this other Thoughtseize. Probably missing, but... Oh, never mind. You had a car in the Great Creator and just chose not to cast it. Error. Force Spike. Cast or play Ugin's Labyrinth. Ugin's Labyrinth trigger on the stack. Kozilek's command to try to find a 7-drop to put under the Ugin's Labyrinth. Holy shit, I've never seen that before. That's kind of freaking hot. That's actually so sick. Hold up. I don't really know how I feel about a Tron player making a good line, but still. We'll pass through this turn. I can hold up Counterspell here and then go for like Ninjutsu Kaito plus Counterspell next turn. Tron is assembled. We're fine with him having 2 billion mana now, as long as I have like a clock and card advantage. Scoop lag! Scoop lag! All right, so guess it would help if we went back to the right list. Hold that thought. So, what did we think about that league? I think that it really, really sucks to kind of stabilize to any extent and not have a way to take advantage of that, which is what I feel like is happening with this current list. Like, you answer a few things early and then you just have no way of like getting back into a dominant position. Like, the early thought seizes and dreams and stuff were really, really good. But Consult being 4 mana to like not do anything on its own, 4 mana to find an answer, hopefully, didn't feel that great. Felt like things were moving a little too fast for Consult to really be relevant. Was cool. I feel like if you wanted to go I think if you wanted to go the Consult route, I would go up on the pitch spells the same way as Riddler, but then you get into that direct 1v1 like Consult to Riddler comparison, and I think Riddler just does more. Like, pairs a lot better with Psychic Frog, pairs a lot better with Tameo clues, whatnot. Actually attacks. Attacking kind of important. Fling didn't do anything for us. Dreams was good. Spell Snare. We saw Boros twice, but Spell Snare obviously looks better into Goblin Bombardment. But then both of them look atrocious into Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But having Stern Scolding for like Guide, Pride, Spyro. Didn't really see Spyro though. It's all Starfield Shepherd. Stern Scolding hits that. It's all Solitude out of Sanatoider's list. So yeah, I'm giving the edge to Stern Scolding still. Shieldred's Edict was fine. But like, every time we had Shieldred's Edict, we could have had a Shoot the Sheriff and done the exact same thing. But I don't think there's like some big gap between Shieldred's Edict and Shoot the Sheriff. I would have liked to see another Kaito, but you probably have to have more Bowmasters to run more Kaitos.